Doug and PA back on another video. So this is another video about stepkids, stepchildren. On my channel, I say, guys, if you don't have any kids, don't date single mothers. Don't sleep with them. Don't marry them. Leave them alone. Don't take care of another man's children. Don't play another man's safe game. And in fairness, ladies, it is 2023. Don't date a man with children. Don't marry a man with children. Don't deal with another person's children. Why would you do that? Don't do it. This article is called, Do I Need to Pay for My New Stepkid's Stuff? This lady is about to marry a guy with 2 children, and she's wondering what she should pay for and what she shouldn't when it comes to his children. We're going to get into this article, but before I do, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It shows you support me and what I'm doing over here. And let's see what this columnist has to say about what this lady should pay for her new stepkids. She says, I'm getting married next fall to a wonderful man and father of 2 daughters from his previous marriage. He shares custody with his ex-wife, who is not my favorite person, but a decent mom. I was never sure if I really wanted kids, so she has no children, but I really love both girls and I'm proud of the relationship I've created with them. I'm excited to become their stepmom. That sounds nice, but my fiance and I moved in together about a year ago, and the girls spend half their time with us. The ex-wife lives nearby with her boyfriend. This is where things get a little hairy financially. We had to buy a bigger home because of the 2 kids, which stretched my budget a little more than I would have liked. We split the down payment, mortgage, and utilities in half. So they bought a house before they got married. Why would you do that? If you're watching this, put in the comments if you know anyone that made a huge financial decision or had children before they got married, like decided to have a child before they got married, and it went south. Did you know anyone that bought a house and then with someone it went south and they had to split the equity and sell the house again? Because I don't know why you would buy a house with someone before you got married, especially when you're planning to get married, or why you'd have a child with the person you were planning to marry before you got married. I don't understand it. Otherwise, we are both reluctant to pool our finances together. My fiance is still pretty traumatized from the financial toll of his divorce, understandably, because men get it in divorce. That's what women don't understand. You're having a lot more women, especially rich ones, figuring that out. Mary J. Blige. And he hates to talk about money. That leaves me hanging a lot of the time when I don't know how to split costs when they include stuff like groceries for his kids. One of his daughters wanted me to take her shopping for back-to-school clothes, which was very sweet, but also, should I pay for that? I did, and my fiance paid me back, which also felt a little weird. Keeping track of what I should pay for versus him is also confusing. From a monetary standpoint, my fiance and I both make the same amount. I make slightly more, but I have less savings because I have student loans, because I'm sure, of course she does, because she's a woman. I don't have any debt except for our mortgage. Anyway, how do people normally do this in a way that feels fair to everyone? I want to treat my soon-to-be stepdaughters like my family, but they also have a mom who is supposed to pay for their stuff too, so I'm not sure where I fit in or what my obligations should be. We should probably see a financial advisor, but I figured I'd ask for a broader advice too. Only women can write articles like this. Can you imagine if a guy said, I'm not going to pay for my wife's stepkids? He'd get crucified. Women can ask, well, should I pay? Men are going to be expected to pay for a single mom's children. He's going to expect to have to pay the rent for that for those children. He's going to have to pay for the clothes, the food, and he's supposed to do it happily. Only women can do this. Should I pay for my new husband's stepkids? So the columnist says, it sounds as though you're going to be a great stepmom already based on the questions you're asking. Oh, does it really? And the fact that your soon-to-be stepdaughter wants to go shopping with you, the ultimate compliment. But still, the stakes are high. Marriage, 2 kids, and a new house all in 1 year. I can understand why you don't want to mess this up and need a solid plan. That said, this will be an evolving process, and there's no normal way to do it. Blended families are complex. There are a lot of ingredients in the mix. Once again, does that sound like something you want to sign up for, guys? Or ladies? When I spoke to several step-parents about your situation, they all said some version of prepare to talk about it a lot. In other words, it's critical that you and your fiance communicate well about money because there's no way to anticipate all the challenges and costs that will come up. Plan is nice and all, but it won't stand a chance if you don't have the skills to confer and make adjustments as you go along, or you can avoid this altogether. Because here's the thing, good relationships should be about reciprocity. Most of the things that your significant other can ask from you, that you can ask from them, they should be able to ask from you in return. If you marry a single parent, reciprocity will never be reached because they're asking you to deal with their kids and you're not asking them to deal with something like that in return. And that's the problem with dating and marrying single moms or single parents. Let the people with kids deal with each other. A lot of people don't think about how step parenting will impact their finances until they're already in it, and that can be jarring. Said Cameron Norman, who offers coaching and support for step parents and blended families, and a stepmom to 4 kids herself. Why would you sign up for that? My husband and I talked about all kinds of stuff before we got married, but it wasn't until I actually had to deal with the reality of it that I was like, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do here? If you were a man, they'd say, well, you got to be a real man. You got to man up. Because only real men, real men take care of single mothers. Yeah, well, real women take care of a single father's kids. How about that? This may not be welcome news if your fiance hates to discuss money. He probably has good divorce-sized reasons for his avoidance. The only way out is through. It's very common in blended families to have one partner who's been burned financially in their relationship. It's more common in blended families to have the man burned financially in their previous relationship, says Norman. But allowing money to remain taboo only fuels the discomfort, she adds. I always think of communication as a skill or a muscle. It requires training, and if you don't use it enough, it atrophies. I can agree with that. This is where a professional third party, a couples counselor, or a financial planner who has experience with blended families may be helpful. Several step parents I spoke to said that they went to couples therapy before they got married to sort through how they manage household finances with stepchildren. Yeah, and if they were going to do this, they should have went to a financial planner before they bought that house together. I also recommend setting up regularly appointed meetings with your fiance to go over household expenses. More on that here. Okay, which helps take pressure off the topic. Another way to neutralize money is to acknowledge the weirdness up front. When you're excited to move forward in a relationship, having uncomfortable conversations can feel like a step back, says Allie Jane Ayers, a certified financial planner and the owner of Brooklyn, Florida, Brooklyn Fi, a financial planning firm. But you can also use the discomfort as a stepping stone. Like, hey, paying for those back to school clothes was a little awkward for everyone. How can we make this less awkward in the future? What brings up the more concrete part of your question, how do you break down who pays for what? Every couple is somewhere on a spectrum between keeping their money completely separate versus pooling everything together, says Ayers. You get to decide where on that spectrum you fall. That is where you can be creative. And once again, only women can say that. Women can decide how much they're going to contribute. A man is going to be expected to contribute everything. Only women can be on a spectrum as to who pays for what. For blended families, it's common to keep at least some money apart, and that's totally fine, says Norman. She and her husband started out their marriage pooling everything, then decided it made more sense to separate things after all. They now have joint credit cards for shared costs, but pay them out of their individual accounts. You could try something like that to start and go over the bill together every month to make sure you're on the same page about what qualifies as shared. You could also have an additional credit card or account for kid-related expenses that your fiance contributes more to cover outright. We'll just skip to the end here. Remember, stepchildren shouldn't feel like a burden. You may love these kids, but you are not obligated to spend money on them. Let's see her say that to a man, not a woman. You've never heard women say this to men. You've never heard men say this to men until the last 4 or 5 years when the red pill took off. Anything you do for them is because you want to, and it feels comfortable and natural, then that's great. But if it doesn't, then you have to figure out what's best for you in your relationship. Norman also just coming with a special thing to do with your stepchildren that you always pay for. Looking for a tradition or an activity that's yours. For instance, I take my stepdaughter to the Nutcracker every Christmas. That bond is separate from money, but it still makes you feel like you're contributing in a way that's fulfilling. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think that this would be different? Would this article be different if she were talking to a man? Have you had this problem where you married a person with stepkids and you were expected to pay for all the bills and stuff for their kids? Let me know what you think about this. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.